are excited to be here on the podcast at the International Fly Tying Symposium. We're excited to have Braden Miller, who's an accomplished fly tyer, as well as being on a couple ambassador programs, which we're going to talk about. Braden, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting. Why don't you tell our listeners a bit about yourself now? You're on Team Norvise, so you tie with this beautiful Norvise.
Yes, sir.
You're also part of the TFO Youth Ambassador program.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So we're going to talk a bit about that. And but before we get into all that fun stuff, talk about some fishing, what you love to do. Let's talk about some tying.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you first tell us how you got started fishing?
So I got started from my grandmother. So she was downsizing when she was moving, and she dropped off a old fly tying kit and a couple of materials, and she also left a 5-weight fly rod, which cork was coming apart and the reel was a little bit old. And I learned from the tying kit first, like woolly bugger, hare's ear nymph, stuff like that. And once I got done with the fly tying kit, I was like, what's next?
Okay.
I started looking on the internet, YouTubing, everything. Streamers caught my attention mainly.
Okay.
Big streamers, game changers, muskie flies, big articulated trout streamers like the Drunken Disorderly and Tommy Lynch stuff, Schultz, Swing and D, and Blaine's Game Changer, like I said. But I didn't have any materials, so I started searching online, everything, looked for people that had videos and then recipes with videos, and then also on like Instagram. And I would ask people questions and everything. And I went on YouTube and watched Fly Fishing the Ozarks whole series with everything from Kelly Gallup stuff, Chris Wallen, and he has musky flies, trout flies, smallmouth flies, everything. But he would have the description with all the materials and everything. I'd just go to my local place and I'd buy the materials. So I learned off of YouTube, Instagram, and just asking people questions off the internet.
Yeah.
And really didn't have a lesson on tying anything.
Wow.
But
So you're self-taught.
yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm sure you've had some kind of instruction and some coaching along the way, so we'll get into some of that. So why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers where you're from?
I'm from Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Yep, near the James River and also Chesapeake Bay.
Awesome. And we want to get into a bit of your home waters, but I want to go back to your kind of inception story here, because you said you started fly fishing because your grandmother left you a fishing rod?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and a tying kit as well?
Yes, sir. But I would spend hours and every day just casting that 5-weight fly rod, learning how to cast. I didn't really look on the internet after
Okay.
I started learning, like just getting the feel for the rod and everything. But after I learned that the internet had everything, I just started.
Went from there.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about your grandmother.
So she was fly fishing for a while, and then she left a bunch of stuff for me, and she maybe gave me about an hour lesson
Okay.
after me learning everything at a pond.
Okay.
But that's about it.
Where did she grow up? You know?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay. Now, where did she live when you were younger?
I think Nebraska.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Did you used to go to Nebraska to visit her?
We've been, I think, once or twice.
Okay. Is that where she lives now?
I think she lives Delaware.
Delaware. Okay.
Yep, Delaware.
Does she still fish?
Mm-hmm.
She
Yes, sir.
does?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
Do you get to fly fish with her?
Not much anymore.
No. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's an incredible story. And so she was a fly fisher person. She was a fly fisher woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she would fly fish, and she was interested in having her grandson learn how to fly fish.
Yes, sir.
And so she left you this fly rod and this fly tying material, and you just kind of picked it up and went.
Yes, sir.
How old were you when you started?
I started tying when I was 9. I was casting when I was 9, but I actually started fly fishing when I was 10.
Okay, so you've been fishing for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yes, sir.
That's really cool. And so what are some of your favorite home waters that you love to go fish?
We've got the Chickahominy River, which I can basically walk to. I've got a section over that flows right through my neighborhood. I've got lakes and ponds around me. We got the James River, the New River, which is a little bit farther than the James, but
Yep.
the James has smallies, muskies if you go farther up, and we got flatheads and blue cats, channel cats, largemouth, just about everything.
And that's like your favorite, those are your favorite species.
Kind of.
What is your favorite species?
I've got a lot.
Okay, yeah, you got a big list.
Yep. Steelhead, mahi mahi.
Mahi mahi. Okay, you love the salt, huh?
Oh yeah. Muskie. Uh, Great barracuda,
Okay.
which the giant one eludes me.
Okay, you're going for that one. That's your bucket list fish right there. The giant barracuda.
Oh yeah.
Now, is it different than a regular barracuda? A
Uh,
giant barracuda, or you just want a big
I
barracuda?
guess. I mean, I've hooked a 5-foot barracuda.
Okay.
But I don't.
You
I
love
don't know.
those toothy critters,
Oh
huh?
yeah.
Muskie,
Pickerel,
and
everything.
pickerel, all that good stuff,
I
huh?
don't care if it's small. If it has teeth, it's all game.
Pickerel, pike, and muskie.
Yes, sir. I still want to get a pike.
Oh, you haven't got a pike yet?
Not yet.
We'll get you on a pike.
Awesome.
We'll find some spots for you for pike. Yeah. Get you up in Canada, you can catch some nice pike up there.
That'd be sweet. I've seen so many pictures and videos.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, this is cool. Now, you said there was one river that you can actually walk to.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Tell me about that river.
It's the Chickahominy. It's got pickerel, bowfin, largemouth bass, bluegill, warmouth.
Warmouth.
Yeah. It's like it's mean. It's like a big bluegill, but it's got a big mouth, like a small, not big mouth, but like small mouth.
Right.
But they eat a lot of.
I'm not
like,
familiar with that
I
fish.
think it eats more bait fish than a bluegill would.
Okay.
But yeah, they're really cool.
And so do you just, like, grab your fly rod after school sometimes and go down there and do some fishing and stuff?
Yes, sir.
Love that.
Oh, yeah. I got to walk through the woods about a quarter mile, but
Brothers and sisters?
I've got 3 brothers. They all fish. I've
Okay.
got my oldest brother fly fishing. He loves it. My youngest brothers and my oldest brother, they all love to fish, but I don't think they like to fish as much as me.
Yeah, you love fishing, huh?
Yes, sir. Live for it.
Do you go fishing with your brothers?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Okay.
sir. All the time. Yep. Being as my brother can drive now, my oldest brother, we go all the time everywhere.
So what are the ages?
16, I think 9, and I think 7 or 8. Not really sure.
And yourself. Okay, so
Yes,
your
sir.
brother's driving, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's cool.
Mom is
Not
excited
too sure about it.
and not too happy.
Well, it's all part of the deal.
She's like, yeah, you can drive your youngest brothers around everywhere. So,
there you go.
oh, yeah.
So you go knocking on his door, hey, let's go fishing.
Oh, yeah.
So your fishing radius just got bigger.
Oh, yes, sir.
That's so cool.
Yep. We go more frequently, everything.
Well, let's talk a bit about your ambassador programs because it's so cool. You're 14 years old. You're on a couple ambassador programs. Let's first talk about TFO and your relationship with TFO.
Okay. So I first really met everyone from TFO and met Rick at the Virginia show.
We're talking about Rick Pope now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. Rick Pope, Alex Colonna, Nick Conklin, Chris Thompson. I talked to Blaine at the Virginia show. And so what I did at the Virginia show every year and at every other show I'd go to, I would have the flies in my bag, in my box, in my bag. In every place I would stop, I would talk to them. I'd pull out my flies and I'd be like, what's some tips and what's like, critique my flies, please. Like, what
Yeah.
could I do better? What's wrong? Like, something.
Right.
And I would get tips from everyone. Everyone would help me. And I stopped at the Norvise booth and I was tying a fly there. Then Alex Colonna and Ricky Walbert, who was the filmer for TFO, filmed me tying and did an interview with me as I tied on the Norvise for the first time. And then I got asked what rod I cast my big flies on, and I said the TFO BK 8-weight. Then they said, do you know who's out there right now? And then Rick Pope walked out. So I met Rick Pope from then. Then I got asked by Norvise to come up to the Lancaster show because it said it was really cool. And then I went up and I met Blaine in person. I talked more with Rick and all. And then the night I got up there, I got invited to be on the pro staff. And then I went to the ambassador team and just went from there.
That's really great story.
And everyone at TFO helps me with everything. They're awesome people.
That's so cool because if I understand this correctly, you just were a guest at the Virginia Fly Fishing Show.
Yes,
and
sir.
you just walked around, you paid your ticket, you brought your flies, and you just started going to different tires and different booths and say, hey, this is what I've been tying. Can you give me some pointers? Can you give me some feedback on my flies?
Yes, sir.
And you just walked around the show doing that.
For hours.
And you had a few people that you want to see, but it was more just kind of anybody who would give you some good feedback and some critiquing on your flies. You wanted that feedback so you get better.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of how it got started.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me, so you went over to Norvise, and what did those guys say?
they pulled out. I pulled out like my bigger stuff, and
Yeah.
I showed them to them. And they're like, "Dude, you tie better than some of the older people I know." I'm like, what? So I was just like confused, and then like they're like, "You ever tie on a Norvise?" I'm like, "No, I got like a Thompson Model A."
Yeah.
So they let me tie on it for a while, and then
What did
it
you
was
think
really
of
cool.
it?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. Like I didn't see anything else like it at any show that I've been to. I didn't see anything like that at the Virginia show,
Yeah.
and I never saw it on the internet or anything. So
Right.
when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, the Holy Grail!" But it was like really cool vice, and
You found your vice. That's so cool. What do you think about the rotary? Had you worked the rotary vice prior to that?
Mhm.
You had.
well, I had a Thompson mallet, but I first got like when I was there tying with them, they gave me tips on the whole bobbin and everything,
Right.
and how it all worked, and how the vice worked, and how the reason they have the rotary function like that, faster tying, easier
Yeah.
tying, everything like that.
So when you started tying on the Norvise, do you think it helped you become a better fly tyer
I think so.
Did
On
your
certain things, yeah.
on certain parts?
Yep.
And were there parts of the vice that like you really couldn't do before, but the Norvise helped you do?
Yes, yes.
Like-
Like when I was palmering things, I would mess up a lot.
Okay.
So instead of just having to like wrap it by hand, I could just hold it in one place and move it up while the vice is rotating.
Just spin it, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you go slow or do you go fast, or it kind of depends on the technique?
It depends on the technique and what fly I'm doing it on. If it's my fly or if it's show fly, I'll go slower on it so it'll look cleaner and
Okay.
everything. But if it's like fly in my box, I don't really care.
Yeah. Well, so that's cool. So let's talk a bit about like what your responsibilities are as a TFO youth ambassador.
So I just show up to the shows. I use the rods. I use the reels. I talk about them. I help people learn how to cast
Okay.
that haven't before. I've just helping people out,
Okay.
showing the rod.
Mostly at the shows.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So you'll help them at the booth, and if people want to go out to the casting ponds, you'll just kind of maybe go with them and talk about the rod, help them understand how this rod would help them become a better fisherman, type of thing.
Yes, sir. And I've also been at like at a local lake or a pond or whatever, and somebody's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm fly fishing." They're like, "What's that?" So I tell them about what it is, and then they're like, "Oh, can I try?" So then
That's
I
cool.
teach them at like a lake or a pond, and then they go out and they buy a rod.
That's awesome. And then you encourage them to buy a TFO rod, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because that's your responsibility.
I love the rods. I
Yeah,
mean,
nothing wrong with that. That's what's so cool about fly fishing is that, we can just kind of talk about stuff that we love to use, and if you're an ambassador, or if you're kind of marketing a product, or just really love a product, even if you're just a friend and say, hey, I love this rod, you got to check it out. And that's what's so cool, because there are so many different feels for different rods. They all feel
sure.
differently, so you can kind of find your sweet spot or find a manufacturer, or you might just like to try a bunch of them and have a different rod. So
Yes,
I have
sir.
a TFO myself. It's my 9-weight. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that new A2X.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And they're really good as far as like their customer service and
Oh yeah. The warranty is amazing.
yeah, I mean, I had mine for a while, and I just needed like a new ferrule because it kind of got dinged up or busted, and so I sent it in, and they actually just sent me a whole new rod. It's like, yeah, that rod's too old, because I actually had it a long time, and I actually didn't want a new rod, but I just wanted to see if I could get it fixed.
Mhm.
And they're like, yeah, no, we can't fix that.
I
but
saw
here's
not too long
Here's a
ago.
new rod for you. I was like,
Yeah.
you're kidding me. And it's
Oh,
an
yeah.
amazing rod.
I saw not too long ago somebody had a NXT starter kit, and they like dropped it in the lake or something for like, and they was in there for a couple years, and they got it back somehow. They just sent it in, and they sent them a whole new NXT kit.
Wow. I mean, that's what you got to love about a company when they stand behind their product like that. And again, there was nothing that the rod did wrong. I broke it. It was my own fault. But they said, hey, no, we want to make sure you have a new rod. So I was like, you guys are awesome. So I really love my TFO. And it casts well, and it feels well. And really one of the things that Lefty got behind the product for is because it's at a price point that people can get into the sport with, and they have a few different, styles and price points, but, you didn't have to spend $800 on a fly fishing rod to enjoy the sport. You can spend just a few $100 and get a nice rod.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I think Lefty got behind. because he wanted people to get into the sport without having to break the bank. Because you got to buy a reel, you got to buy waders, you got to buy wading boots, and so.
Line, leader, backing,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. So you're on Team TFO
Yes, sir.
as a youth ambassador, and also on Team Norvise.
Yes, sir.
So do you have any responsibilities for being on Team Norvise?
Show up to shows, tie, talk to people, show off the vise, tell them what the vise is, what it does,
Yep.
what it's about, how to use it. Show them the functions of it.
Yep.
Tips for it, tips and tricks when using it.
So you'll
stuff
tie
like that.
you'll tie at the shows at the booth.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. At either their booth or I'll have my booth, and I'll just tie. They'll tie certain things and other things, showing off the key parts of it, and I'll just tie
Yeah.
the streamers I like to tie.
What
and
do you like
the
to tie?
functions of it.
Yeah, that was my next question. What do you like to tie?
I like to tie big streamers, musky streamers. I like watching visual eats, like for bass, smallmouth.
Okay.
Recently snakehead. Haven't gotten a bowfin on. Actually, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But bowfin are sweet.
I want to get back to some of those fish and like what you left to fish for, but just to finish up on Norvise, why don't you give us kind of like a 15, 30-second overview of what you think and how this vise helps you become a better fly tyer?
I think the rotary function is a whole lot easier. You don't really have to switch hands when using it. Say you're palmering or like wrapping a hackle or something, or chenille. It's so easy. You just tie it in, half hitch or overhand, whatever. Bring it up, tie it off.
Okay.
It's so easy. It's so simple. You can do it with. Tim was doing it with dry flies earlier. Dry flies, nymphs, everything. You can fit. They got the midge jaws. They got the big game jaws. They got the standard jaws. I've used all of them. I use the midge jaws for my game changer shanks because they won't fit in the standard jaws. And then I'll just swap them out. When I swap out my jaws, it takes actually 3 to 4, 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So quick and simple.
So it's efficient.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, good. I wanted to get your ambassadorship in there as well because you are Team Norvise. So give you a free plug there and they're a sponsor of ours too. So I'm very excited about tying on a Norvise, and it's a great product. So as a young tyer, I wanted you to kind of help our listeners know a bit about why you like the product.
Yes, sir.
Well, cool. Well, this has been great. I'm so excited. Why don't we talk a bit about the types of fishing you like to do? You said you like to go after those toothy critters. You like to go after like a smallmouth and muskie.
Yes, sir.
Have you caught a muskie?
I've gotten one. I've hooked up on 2 others.
Nice.
Yes,
I
sir.
haven't ever caught a muskie.
Oh, they're so awesome. They're so cool. Blaine put me on my first one. I ended up hooking up on one on my first cast, and I ended up trout sitting on it.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, that hurt. First, I don't know, probably. So we were floating down for probably 30, 45 minutes, and then we finally got the first hole.
Okay.
Blaine goes, there's 4 right here. I was like, what?
You could see him? So you went
I don't know.
You went out with Blaine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep. That was awesome.
For the listeners who don't know, we're talking about Blaine Chocolate.
Yep.
Who's a world-class, acclaimed fly fisherman and fly tyer, inventor of the game changer, the articulated fly. So what have you learned from Blaine?
A bunch of casting tips and tricks. Less back cast. You want to really put power into the rod to make that big fly cast.
Okay.
You got to get the right lines, or else you're going to be hurting. Right line, right rod. You don't want to do. You don't want to be too heavy.
Yep.
End up wearing your arm out quick, and just try to chill out when you hook up on a big fish.
Chill, huh? Don't get nervous.
Make sure you strip set.
Strip set, right? don't trout set.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. That. Yeah.
So you landed one so far.
Yes, sir.
How long?
46.
Wow! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where? Are we allowed to talk about where? Or?
It was on the New River.
The New River.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
Because muskie fishing, I hear, is like you get a little secretive.
Yeah.
You don't really talk about your spots.
Yes, sir.
Is that true?
Yes.
Is that okay? You want me to cut that out?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. You want to talk to Blaine and get back to me on that?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds cool. Well, this is good. So you love to muskie fish. So tell me a little bit about that day that when you went out with Blaine for that trip.
Okay. So it was cold.
It was
real
cold.
Yep. So
What time of year?
pretty sure December.
December.
Yep. It was December, and My mom was in the back of the drift boat. Blaine was rowing. I was up front fishing, and my mom was back there freezing, taking pictures and everything, videos, pictures. And I was taking off my jacket, stripping layers off because I was getting hot from casting. Blaine was taking off all of his stuff, jacket, everything, because he was getting hot from rowing. My mom was like, "How are y'all taking off stuff?" We're like, "We're getting hot from doing everything."
Yeah.
And she was freezing, but she was like, "Oh my gosh, it was so awesome when she hooked up to that one." She loved it too. It was awesome.
Who
man.
hooked up?
I did up
When
to
you hooked
muskie.
up. Oh,
when we got it, when
she
she
was
first saw
excited,
it, she
yeah.
was like freaking excited too.
Yeah.
And I hooked up to a trout set on the first muskie.
Oh, the first one you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
pulled up for a spot, trout set. And I was like, "Blaine, was that a fish?" Because I thought I saw something flash. He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How big was it?" He's like, 42. I was like, "Oh my god." It was like the first time I've ever really been on
A big fish like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
first
But
time.
did you catch the one that you caught that same day?
Yep.
Oh, cool. So you got another shot at least.
Yep. So we went down a little bit farther down the river, and we went up to another hole, anchored up. I was stripping a, I think, 11, maybe 12-inch black hybrid game changer, and sure enough, I hooked another one. Got him up to the drift boat. He went off a little bit more. Brought him back in. Went out like another 5 feet. He was doing just head shakes after head shakes. Like the last head shake.
He didn't want to be landed at all.
Last head shake. Blaine was about to get him with the cradle, and just shook it off, pulled right out of his mouth. My mom's got a picture of where it's flying up from the water, and the fish is rolling back.
So you never got your picture?
Not for that one.
That one, okay.
But then we went down a little bit farther to the last hole before we pulled out, and I ended up. So first I hooked up to a log, and I brought it up. I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's a log." And then I do the same cast, same place over again. I'm stripping it, and I'm letting it sink down freaking deep, like really deep. And then it just dead weight. Like I strip, and the line goes through my hand. I'm like, "Oh, wait." And then I strip again, and I strip again. Then I'm like, "Oh, I think it's a log." And I raise the rod tip, and it's stuck. It just stops, and then it starts going like bobbing down and swimming off.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my god."
That log's moving.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a log. Oh
yeah.
yeah. Brought it up. 46-inch muskie. I was flipping out. Line was all over the place. I had my feet all up on it. So when it took off a little bit more, I was jumping up down on the drift boat. And
So you wouldn't get snagged.
oh yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And jumped once. Got pictures for that. We got it in the landing cradle. Got out. Took pictures with it. Got a video of letting it go.
It jumped?
Oh yeah. Like just came up, like half its body came up and just like a whale and just slapped up back on the water. Head shaking, gills flared. It was like a tarpon.
You must have just been like thrilled.
Oh my god, that was so awesome.
When was this? Last year?
Yes, sir.
Last December, huh?
Yep. Yeah, it was.
You looking forward to going muskie fishing again?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's probably one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah. So what are some of the flies you like to tie?
Big game changers, like Chris Willen's double nickel for muskies and stuff like that. But I've tied down to a 2.5-inch game changer up to like a 14-inch game changer and stuff like that for muskies. But big stuff like that, Tommy Lynch's Drunk and Disorderly.
So, Braden, it's been awesome having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. We actually want to watch you tie a fly. So which fly did you say you wanted to tie?
The cardiac arrest.
The cardiac arrest. Yep. Okay, cool. We have a hat for you. So FFJ hat, you can go
awesome.
royal blue or navy.
That's awesome. Thank you so
much. You want royal blue? All right, cool. And then Buff also wants to give you this buff. This is the Rocky Mountain National Park version. So
cool.
You like to wear buffs?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, me
yep,
too.
All the time.
I love to wear buffs when I fish. So enjoy that.
Yes, sir.
It's been great to have you on. So why don't we jump on the tie? We'll set up the cameras. We'll change it up. Before we finish, why don't you tell our viewers how do they get a hold of you if they want to reach back out? I know you got an Instagram that I follow.
Yes, sir. You can get me on Flyfisher0906 on Instagram and Braden Miller on Facebook. And my email is flyfisher0906@gmail.com. But we're having a website being set up right now, and it'll be done soon, called millertimeflies.com.
Very cool. So stay tuned for a website, millertimeflies.com.
Yes, sir.
That's going to be your website. That should be done soon. And your Instagram, one more time?
Flyfisher0906.
Flyfisher0906. That's been so cool. Thanks for being on our podcast and our vlog.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Braden. Thanks.